The thunderous applause died down as 8-year-old Emma Chen walked onto the stage, her patent leather shoes clicking against the polished wood. From the third row, her father, Richard Chen, CEO of Chen Technologies and one of Silicon Valley's most influential figures, sat with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable behind designer glasses. He'd flown in from Tokyo for this. She had exactly 4 minutes to prove she deserved his time. Emma's fingers trembled as they hovered over the piano keys. The auditorium at Riverside Performing Arts Academy held 300 people. But she could only see one. Her father. Always her father. She'd practiced Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major for 6 months, bleeding through blisters, sacrificing playtime, memorizing every note until her teacher declared her ready. But now, under the hot stage lights with her father's cold gaze boring into her, the first measure evaporated from her mind like morning mist. 10 seconds passed, then 20. The silence grew teeth. Emma's hands shook violently. She pressed a key, the wrong one. The dissonant note echoed through the hall like a scream. Panic flooded her chest. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. The notes on the sheet music blurred into meaningless black dots. This was it. The moment her father would finally confirm what she'd always feared. She wasn't good enough. She would never be good enough. 3 rows behind Richard Chen sat Marcus Thompson, a 34-year-old construction worker whose calloused hands still bore traces of concrete dust he hadn't quite scrubbed away. His daughter Lily, also 8, sat beside him in a thrift store dress he'd ironed that morning. They'd taken 2 buses to get here because Lily's best friend Emma had invited her, and Marcus never broke promises to his little girl. Not since her mother left. Not since it became just the 2 of them against the world. Marcus watched the girl on stage freeze and his heart cracked open. He knew that look. He'd seen it on Lily's face during her first soccer game, when she'd accidentally scored for the other team. That terrible moment when a child realizes they're failing and the whole world is watching. "Go, Emma!" Marcus's voice cut through the silence like a lighthouse beam through fog. "You've got this, sweetheart. Take your time." Heads turned. Richard Chen's neck stiffened. Several parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But Marcus stood up, his 6-foot frame unfolding from the cramped auditorium seat. "One note at a time, honey. We're all here rooting for you." "There's no rush." Lily jumped up beside her father, her gap-toothed smile bright as sunshine. "You can do it, Emma. You're the best piano player I know." Something shifted in Emma's face. The panic didn't disappear, but it softened. She looked at Marcus, this big man with kind eyes who barely knew her, and then at Lily, her best friend, her only real friend at this school, full of children whose parents measured worth in stock options and square footage. Emma's fingers found middle C, then E-flat, then G. The opening chord of the Nocturne bloomed into the silence. Tentative but true. Her hands still trembled, but they moved. One note led to another. The melody she'd practiced 1,000 times in her bedroom, while her father worked late, finally emerged, imperfect but alive. Marcus sat down, squeezing Lily's hand. "See," he whispered. "Sometimes people just need to know someone believes in them." Emma stumbled twice more during the performance. She lost tempo in the 3rd measure and fumbled the transition into the B section. By any technical standard, it was a flawed performance. But she finished. When the final chord faded, she looked up, not at her father, but at Marcus and Lily, who were clapping like she'd just won a Grammy. The applause was polite but thin. Richard Chen didn't clap at all. He was already checking his phone. After the recital, parents clustered in the lobby with plastic cups of punch and forced smiles, comparing their children's performances like quarterly earnings reports. Emma stood alone by the coat rack, still in her recital dress, watching her father talk on his phone near the exit. She'd disappointed him. Again. The knowledge sat in her stomach like a stone. "You were amazing." Lily crashed into Emma with a hug that nearly knocked them both over. "I told my dad you were the best, and you were." Marcus approached more carefully, holding 2 cups of punch. He offered one to Emma. "That took real courage up there," he said quietly. I know what it's like when your mind goes blank. Happened to me once when I had to give a speech at my union hall. Scared me half to death." He smiled. "But you pushed through. That's the hard part. That's what counts." Emma took the punch with both hands. "I messed up," she whispered. "I forgot everything. My dad—" She glanced toward Richard, who hadn't looked up from his phone. "He's probably so disappointed." "Hey!" Marcus crouched down to her eye level, his knees cracking. "You know what I saw up there? I saw a girl who fell down and got back up. That's not failure, sweetheart. That's strength. The best people I know aren't the ones who never mess up. They're the ones who mess up and keep going anyway." Emma's eyes filled with tears. When was the last time an adult had spoken to her like this? Like she mattered beyond her achievements, beyond her usefulness. "Come on, Emma." Lily tugged her friend's hand. "My dad says we can get ice cream if your dad says it's okay." Emma looked at Marcus, this stranger who'd become her rescuer. "Why did you do that? Stand up and yell. I mean, you don't even know me." Marcus's expression softened. "I've got a daughter about your age. If she was up there scared and alone, I'd hope someone would remind her she's not by herself. That's all any of us really need sometimes. Just one person in our corner telling us we can do it." He straightened up. "Plus, Lily talks about you all the time. Says you're the only kid at school who doesn't make fun of her second-hand clothes. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." Emma's father appeared then, materializing like a shadow. Richard Chen stood over 6 feet tall in his $1,000 suit, his presence commanding immediate attention. He looked at Marcus with the cold assessment of someone used to evaluating people's worth in seconds. "Emma, we're leaving," Richard said, not acknowledging Marcus or Lily. "The car's waiting. Dad, can I—" "Now, Emma." Marcus felt Lily's hand tighten in his. He should stay quiet. He should mind his business. This man was clearly wealthy, clearly powerful, clearly not someone Marcus wanted to cross. But he thought of Emma's face on that stage, drowning in fear, and he thought of Lily crying herself to sleep after her mother left, and something in him refused to stay silent. "Mr. Chen?" Marcus's voice was respectful but firm. "I'm Marcus Thompson, Lily's dad. I just wanted to say your daughter showed real character up there tonight. You should be proud." Richard finally looked at Marcus, really looked at him. His gaze traveled from Marcus's worn jacket to his construction boots, lingering on the concrete dust under his fingernails. The assessment was quick and dismissive. "Thank you for your enthusiasm during the performance," Richard said, his tone making it clear it wasn't a compliment. "Emma, let's go." "Actually," Emma said, and both men turned to her in surprise. "Lily invited me for ice cream. Can I go, please?" Richard's jaw tightened. "You have tutoring tomorrow at 7 a.m. Mandarin with Mrs. Liu, then advanced mathematics. It's Friday night, Dad, which is why you need to rest. Not eat sugar with—" He stopped himself, but everyone heard the words he didn't say. The lobby had gone quiet. Other parents pretended not to listen while hanging on every word. Marcus kept his voice level. "It's just ice cream, sir. I'll have her home by 8:30. You've got my word." Richard looked at his daughter, really. Looked at her, for the first time that evening. He saw the hope in her eyes, the desperate plea, and beneath it all, something that looked like fear. Fear of him. When had that happened? For a moment, something flickered across Richard Chen's face. Uncertainty, regret, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Emma has responsibilities," Richard said. "Perhaps another time." He placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "Say goodbye." Emma's face crumbled. "It's always another time. Dad, always next week, always next month. Always when you're less busy, or when I've practiced more, or when I've—" Her voice broke. "I just wanted ice cream with my friend." Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, a reflex, automatic, and in that split second of distraction, Marcus saw everything. The missed birthdays, the cancelled plans, the girl growing up in a mansion full of everything except what she actually needed. "Mr. Chen," Marcus said quietly, "I don't know you, and you don't know me. But I know what it's like to be so focused on providing for your kid that you forget. They need more than just stuff. They need time. They need to know they matter more than the next meeting or the next deal." He paused. My daughter's mom left us when Lily was 3. I work 60-hour weeks trying to keep our heads above water. But I never miss a soccer game. I never miss a recital, because one day she'll be grown, and I'll have all the time in the world. But she won't want it anymore. The lobby was silent now, all pretense of conversation abandoned. Richard's phone buzzed again. He stared at it, then at Emma, then back at the screen showing an urgent email from Beijing. The deal he'd been working on for 18 months. The acquisition that would cement his legacy. The call that couldn't wait. Emma was already pulling away from him, her shoulders hunched in defeat. She'd learned not to hope too hard. Emma, wait. She turned, surprised. Richard Chen silenced his phone. He looked at Marcus, this construction worker in a discount store. Jacket who'd just held up a mirror showing Richard his own reflection, and it was uglier than he'd ever imagined. "What's your favorite ice cream flavor?" Richard asked his daughter. Emma blinked. "What? Your favorite flavor? He trailed off, the admission stuck in his throat. "I don't think I know." "Mint chocolate chip," Emma whispered. "It's always been mint chocolate chip, Dad." Richard felt something crack inside his chest. 8 years old, and he didn't know his daughter's favorite ice cream. What else didn't he know? What else had he missed while building an empire? "Then let's go get some," Richard said. "If Mr. Thompson doesn't mind the company." Marcus smiled, surprised but genuine. "The more the merrier. There's a place 3 blocks down that makes their own waffle cones. Best in the city." "I'll drive us," Richard offered. "It's a nice night," Marcus countered gently. "We could walk." "When's the last time you just walked somewhere?" Richard couldn't remember. He looked at Emma, who was staring at him like he was a stranger. Maybe he was. "Walking sounds good," Richard said. The 4 of them left the academy together, the CEO and the construction worker, the girl who had everything and the girl who had enough. They walked past Richard's idling town car, past the surprised driver, into the cool evening air. In the ice cream shop, Emma and Lily shared a banana split while their fathers sat across from them, nursing coffee for Richard and a vanilla cone for Marcus. Richard watched his daughter laugh at something Lily said, really laugh, the kind that came from deep in the belly, and realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd heard that sound. "She talks about Lily constantly," Richard admitted. "You're raising a good kid." "So are you," Marcus said. Emma stood up there terrified, and she still finished. "That's you in her. That's your strength." "My strength?" Richard laughed bitterly. "I was checking stock prices while my daughter's heart was breaking. Some strength. But you're here now," Marcus pointed out. "That's what matters. Not that you stumbled, that you chose to do better." Richard was quiet for a long moment. "I built my company from nothing. My father was a janitor who worked 3 jobs. I promised myself my children would never know that struggle, that hunger. So I worked and worked. And somewhere along the way," he gestured helplessly at Emma, "I forgot that poverty isn't just about money." Marcus nodded. "I worry about that too. Lily doesn't have what other kids have. No fancy music lessons or private tutors. Sometimes I wonder if I'm failing her." "You showed up tonight," Richard said. "You stood up for a kid who wasn't even yours." "You're not failing anyone." The girls finished their ice cream and begged for quarters for the ancient arcade game in the corner. Richard handed over a $20 bill before Marcus could reach for his wallet. "Let me," Richard insisted. "It's the least I can do for the man who saved my daughter's recital." "I didn't save anything," Marcus said. "Emma saved herself. I just reminded her she could." They watched the girls play, their laughter mixing with the electronic beeps of the game. 2 fathers from different worlds, united by the same fierce love for the small. Humans who'd reorganized their entire universes. "Mr. Thompson," Richard said eventually. "Marcus, what do you do for work?" "Construction. I'm a site foreman for Bennett Brothers." Richard nodded slowly. "My company is breaking ground on a new campus in San Jose next quarter. $75 million project. We're still selecting the construction firm." He met Marcus's eyes. "I'd like Bennett Brothers to bid on it, and I'd like you to supervise if you're interested." Marcus's ice cream cone stopped halfway to his mouth. "Mr. Chen, I appreciate the thought, but I don't want charity." "It's not charity. It's good business. I need someone who understands what actually matters. Someone who shows up. Someone who stands up." Richard's voice roughened. Someone who reminds people they're not alone. That's the kind of man I want, building something that will outlast all of us. Marcus was quiet for a moment, absorbing this. I'll have my company submit a proposal. Good. Richard pulled out his phone, then stopped. Emma was watching him, her expression guarded. He put the phone away. Actually, that can wait until Monday. Emma's face transformed, hope blooming like spring flowers. They stayed until the shop closed at 9. Richard called his driver and insisted on taking Marcus and Lily home, a detour that added 40 minutes to his own commute. When they pulled up to the modest apartment complex where Marcus and Lily lived, Emma hugged her friend goodbye and whispered, "Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for bringing your dad." "He's the best," Lily whispered back. "But I think yours might be pretty good too." As Marcus and Lily climbed the stairs to their second-floor apartment, Lily asked, "Daddy, why did Emma's dad look so sad?" "He's rich. I thought rich people were always happy." Marcus unlocked their door, thinking about the loneliness he'd seen in Richard Chen's eyes. "Money can buy a lot of things, baby girl, but it can't buy time back. It can't buy the moments you missed." He pulled her into a hug. "That's why I always come to your games and your plays, even when I'm tired, even when work is crazy. Because these moments, right here, right now, this is the real wealth." In the town car, Emma sat close to her father, closer than she had in months. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you stay tonight?" "You never stay." Richard wrapped his arm around her, pulling her against his side. "Because a very brave man reminded me what's actually important. And because my daughter needed me." He kissed the top of her head. "I'm sorry, Emma, for all the times I wasn't there. For making you feel like you had to be perfect to deserve my attention. You deserved it all along just by being you." Emma started crying, deep, heaving sobs that shook her small frame. Richard held her tighter, his own tears falling silently into her hair. All the recitals he'd missed, all the bedtime stories unread, all the scraped knees he hadn't bandaged because he was on a conference call. The weight of it crushed him. "I'll do better," he promised. "Starting now, starting tonight. What would you like to do this weekend? Anything you want." Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Really? Anything?" "Anything. Can Lily come to our house? She's never been. And can we just play? Like normal kids? No tutors or lessons or practice. Just play." Richard thought about his schedule. The Saturday morning, meeting with the London office. The Sunday golf game with potential investors. The life he'd built brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. "Absolutely," he said. "I'll call Lily's dad in the morning." Emma smiled, genuine, radiant, transforming her whole face. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, sweetheart. So much more than I've shown you." That night, after Emma was asleep, Richard stood in his home office surrounded by awards and accolades, certificates of achievement covering every wall. CEO of the Year, Innovator of the Decade, 40 under 40, empty trophies for an empty life. He pulled out his phone and looked at his calendar, meetings bleeding into meetings, commitments stacked like blocks in an impossible tower. He started cancelling the Monday breakfast meeting, the Wednesday investor dinner. The Saturday call with London could happen Friday instead, or not at all. He'd spent years building a legacy, but he'd almost lost the only legacy that truly mattered. Richard opened his email and found Marcus's work contact. He typed, "Thank you for tonight. You gave me back my daughter. Let's schedule that project meeting. And bring Lily next Saturday. Emma's already planning the sleepover." "Richard." The response came quickly, even at this late hour. "No thanks needed. Just pay it forward. See you Saturday, Marcus." Richard smiled and, for the first time in years, went to bed without checking his stock portfolio. Saturday came bright and warm. Marcus and Lily arrived at the Chen estate at 10 a.m. Lily's eyes wide as saucers at the mansion, the pool, the tennis courts. But within minutes, she and Emma were just two 8-year-old girls playing with dolls in a bedroom the size of Marcus's entire apartment. Richard and Marcus sat on the back patio, drinking coffee and watching their daughters through the window. "You changed my life," Richard said simply. "I don't know how to repay that." "Don't repay it," Marcus said. "Just be there for her. That's all any kid really wants, to know their parent sees them, chooses them, shows up for them. "I will," Richard promised. "Every recital, every moment. I won't miss another one." And he didn't. In the years that followed, Richard Chen remained a successful CEO, but his metrics for success shifted. He measured his weeks not in profits, but in bedtime stories. Not in acquisitions, but in soccer games attended. Not in market share, but in moments of laughter shared with his daughter. Emma and Lily grew up as close as sisters. Their friendship forged that night in a moment of crisis and kindness. And their fathers became unlikely friends too. The construction worker and the CEO, meeting for coffee every month, reminding each other what actually mattered in this short, precious life. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest ripples. Sometimes a stranger's encouragement, at exactly the right moment, can change everything. And sometimes the poorest man in the room is actually the richest, because he understands that love, time and presence are the